At ease, it's your boy Soul Immortal. Man, I'm finally making it home from spending a week or so abroad. I had the chance to spend a few days out in Dubai. You know, met some new people, saw some new places that I didn't get to hit last time, and had a blast. And then I worked my way down to South Africa, Cape Town to be exact. And my objective of going down to Cape Town was to hike the newly appointed seventh wonder of the world, which was Table Mountain. Now I've hiked, several challenging trails. I've hiked the Aztec Mountains out in West Texas, of course the Grand Canyon. But hiking this mountain was going to be, definitely a major notch to put on my belt, right? But the thing is this. I traveled 9,000 miles to check this item off my bucket list, but things turned out a lot different than I thought. I want to talk to you about the 3 things that I learned at Table Mountain. Let's talk about it. So I get to the base of the mountain, right? And I'm overlooking the city. And I can just tell you guys, Cape Town is a very unique and special place. I can hands down say that this place has the best of foods, best of entertainment, awesome people, great shopping, you name it, and Cape Town has it, man. And just standing on the base of the mountain, I could tell that this place where I was standing was very special. Guys, I can tell you right now that there is not another place on the planet like Cape Town. This place is freaking amazing, man. So I'm getting ready to head up the mountain, right? And as recommended, they recommend that you either ride the trolley up and hike it down, or hike it up and ride the trolley down, right? So I chose to ride the trolley up and hike it down. So I get on the trolley, and even the way up to the top of the mountain, man, the views are still epic, I'm still just admiring the city, admiring the hillside. And then I get to the top, and I step out of the trolley onto the flat surface. And guys, the only way I can describe this is just, again, majestic. I mean, it was just nature in its finest form. I mean, you could see, if you look to the left, you could see what they call the 12 Apostles, which is just a series of mountains, of 12 mountains that just kind of fade back in the horizon. And if you look to the right, you have your, you can see the beach, you can see downtown Cape Town, you can see the residential areas. And on top of all this is just like a bed of clouds. It's just an amazing view. So, I spent the next 30, 45 minutes soaking all of this in, taking photos, of course. And then I stepped into they have 2 restaurants up top. I stepped into one of the restaurants to get me a quick bite before I hike it down. Step in, step out, take a few more pictures. And then I check all my gear. I got my backpack on. I got several bottles of water. My cell phone's charged up. I got my Yeezys on. So boom, I'm ready to go. And then, you know, I take one last look, and then I turn around to head toward the back of the mountain to head down. And that's when it happened. So I turn my back from this blissful scene, right? And as I turn around and I'm looking back up, all I can remember, man, is like the entire world turning solid red. And I look to my right, and I can see that all the people that were just kind of sitting there chilling for the last hour, it was like they just came to life, man. I see cameras going up, I'm hearing snapping of cameras, and everybody's just talking, and everything is just solid red. And I turn back around to look at the scene that I just looked at, and guys, all I can say is it was like looking into the eyes of the Creator himself. It was at this point, man, that I realized that my desire to conquer this newly appointed seventh wonder of the world was all a setup. I knew that at this point, that my trip to this sacred place was not for me to check something off of my bucket list, but to receive information. And it was at this point, I set my bag down, I sat on top of the highest rock, and I listened. And these are the three things that I heard. Now, I don't remember a whole lot about my father, but you know, with him being a preacher, there are certain sermons I always remember him preaching. And one sermon that always stuck in my mind was one that he called "Seek Ye Wise Counsel." And I remember in this sermon, he always talked about, you know, God, the Creator, the Most High, whatever you want to refer to him as, you know, always being, of course, hands down, the best counsel that any man can get. But then he talked about getting counsel from people of the world. And I remember one thing he always said was that when you seek counsel, when you seek advice, never, be careful about seeking advice from people that aren't in a position that you want to be in. You know what I'm saying? I made a video a few weeks ago talking about the trip that I had out in Hilton Head, South Carolina. I hooked up with some old schoolers out there, and we took a boat ride to a private island, had a big shindig. But later on that night before we came back, these guys made a small fire, man, and was sitting in a circle and just got to talking, kind of like they were just networking. And I'd been talking to these guys the whole night, but I knew that it was at this point in time, I just needed to shut up and listen. And I heard several of these guys telling different stories. I heard one guy talking about how he had, worked all his years, retired at 65 and was just barely making it, and how a person came and rented a piece of equipment from him, and from that point he started renting out equipment. Next thing you know, he had a multi-million-dollar business. And these guys were just going in circles telling about life experiences. And I looked at the position these guys were in, and I said, you know what, this is somewhere, I want to be. I want to live like these guys one day. These guys seem to be happy. So again, it's important, guys, that when you seek advice, especially on the internet, make sure that person is in a position that you want to be in. I know, especially on YouTube, man, people people have channels and everybody is talking, you know, their experiences, and some of it is good and some of it is kind of questionable. But you always have to ask yourself, is that guy happy? Is that guy where I want to be? Is that guy speaking his truth? You know what I mean? Even, you know, and I appreciate when people comment on my own videos. You know, people are, you know, I make a video and people make comments, good and bad, and I like them both. But sometimes people come on there and say, oh, well, you need to do this, and 7 years ago, and go through this whole spiel on how I need to move and how I need to do this. And I'm like, all right, okay, that's good. I heard what you're saying. But then I go to their page. There's no subscribers. There's no content. And in my mind, I'm like, well, what makes you, you know, have the ability to just come to my page and just all of a sudden you're Dr. Phil or you're Oprah Winfrey? You know what I mean? I mean, so just be careful on people who are constantly giving advice with nothing to stand on. The evolution of man. Now, when I say that, I don't mean the evolution of mankind. I'm talking about the evolution of you personally, right? So I can think back, you know, back when I was like 17, 18, 19 years old, right? And I was hanging with a group of guys. All we did was smoke, drink, and do stuff that would at least land us 25 or more years in prison. And these were the guys I was hanging with. And at some point in time, just a light bulb went off in my head. And I realized that I wanted more out of life. So having gone down the road I traveled, there weren't too many options at that time. So I chose the military. So I go back to my boys, and you know, I'm talking about the military, and some of them guys, you know, hanging out at the spot were like, oh man, you know, you corny, you going to the military, that's cheesy, that's what lames do, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know, it is what it is. So I joined the military and spent a handful of years in the military. And I go back to that same block and I see my boys, and, you know, we dapping it up and chopping it up for a minute. But them guys are doing the exact same thing. Nothing's changed. So, you know, I get out of the military, I got in the oil field. I told those guys about, hey, let's get a CDL, let's get this oil field money, you know, it's booming. Oh man, working is cheesy, you a slave, you did. You know, so I get on my grind in the oil field, man. Spent several years in the oil field, you know, have a good life, bought a home, bought several toys, had marriage. Life was good. And I can go back to that same spot, and those guys are older now, much older. And not only are they doing the same thing, but they're showing the younger men, hey, this is how you're supposed to live, right? So years go by, you know, I finish school, you know, get a better job, corporate America, blase, blase. And I can go back to the block right now, and those guys are still doing the exact same thing. And the thing is, guys, you have to consistently be elevating, be evolving, in other words. You need to always be doing something, be reaching out to be more, to be greater, to do something that you've done. I got on Facebook the other day, and I get on Facebook about once a year. I'll log on, and normally I'll stay on there for about a month before I just can't take any more of it, and then I'll get off. But I got on there last week, you know, made a post about the adventures I was taking and whatnot. And guys, I'm telling you, it was 12 to 14 hours I've been on, and I had to get off. And this is why I don't care too much about Facebook, because all Facebook is just it's just a large stagnant pond. And this is what I mean. So I got on Facebook in 2009, right? Now here it is, almost 2019. And when I log on, I see the exact same things I saw in 2009. Everybody's still talking about their favorite sports team. Everybody's still talking about, you know, just the same old things. Girls are still taking the same poses. Everything is the same. And it's just being associated with that stagnant environment brothers, it just eats away at me. I can't explain it. It eats away at me. So I had to get off, man. It's imperative, guys, that you stay away from stagnant situations and that you're always evolving. In other words, don't be afraid to listen to new musics, man. Listen to some rock and roll or some country or some hip or whatever. Just some kind of different music every once in a while, man. That'll expand you. Listen to go to some museums or hang around people that you wouldn't normally hang around. Go to some concerts. Go to some events that you wouldn't typically go to. Guys, I'm telling you, you will find out that your brain, your mind, your way of life will expand by doing that, and you'll just consistently be evolving into a better person. In other words, you have to think outside the box. Which brings me to my third and final topic. The danger of boxes. Now, when I say the danger of boxes, really what I'm saying is the danger of titles or the danger of labels. I can remember, the first 20 plus years of my life growing up as a Christian, right? And at some point, I just began to feel like I was in a cage, you know what I mean? Like something just wasn't right. So I took another leap of faith and I converted to Islam. And I stayed in Islam for about, roughly 10 years. But somewhere along the lines, I started feeling that same cage around me. So at some point in my early 30s, I became religion free. And the reasons, or the two reasons rather, why I chose to become religion free is because of, one, I realized that by me putting that label on my name, that I was placing myself in a prison. And two, I realized that not only was I putting a limit or a ceiling on the Most High, but I was putting a ceiling and a limit on myself. By attaching myself to these labels, there was only so much I could be without stepping outside the lines. And think about it. It's no different than what we see in everyday life. You have Bloods and Crips, limits. You have Republicans and Democrats. You have Christians and Muslims. These are all limits. And to be honest, guys, we can talk about, MGTOW, we can talk about Itmore, we can talk about pickup artists, we can talk about dating coaches. These are all boxes that we've placed ourselves in. And in reality, what we've done is place ourselves in captivity. We've placed ourselves in prison. Now, let me say this. Boxes are good for some people. I'm not saying that boxes or labels or titles are a bad thing. Trust me, I'm not saying that, because some people like to live their life by boxes, right? But just the way I'm set up as a person, like just the way my soul is set up, just the way my mind works, just the way I think. Like I learned several years ago that I couldn't live in a box, And the reason is this. One reason is, like I said a second ago, not only does it limit you, not only does it place you in a cage. So that's one thing. But not only that, but the other thing is this. What you're telling the world is that you think and act and correspond just like every single other person in that box. And that's the part inside of me that just keeps me out of boxes, because I can look at any group I've ever been associated with, and you always have extremists, Christianity, Islam, any other, even the fraternities I've been involved in. And again, it's no different than MGTOW. You know what I mean? There are some guys that have this MGTOW title that I'm like, man, like what are you, what are you thinking? Like, how does your brain work? And then there are some guys, man, that I'm like, dude, that guy's speaking so much knowledge, and I'm on their channels all the time, and I'm donating. But at the same time, guys, you have to be very careful about the boxes you put yourself in. In conclusion, man, what Table Mountain reminded me of was who I was. You know what I'm saying? There's this song that I listen to all the time, and it's in my playlist by Nipsey Hussle. And in the song, the other brother says, he keeps saying, I almost forgot what I was doing. I almost forgot where I was going. And that's the song that just kept playing in my mind as I came down that mountain, right? Because at the end of the day, I'm a work in progress. I'm a constant evolving man, which we all should be. A lot of brothers hit me up over the last couple of weeks or over the last few videos, and they'll make comments like, hey, they didn't like this right here, and they're subscribing, and I shouldn't do certain things or shouldn't talk about certain topics. And to these people, I'll just say this, if you follow me because you think there's a certain, title associated with me, or if you follow me because, I'm a Freemason, if you follow me because of any other labels you want to attach to me, then you're following me for the wrong reason. Anybody that's followed my page since day one, I'm going to speak the same truth whether I have 200 followers, 20,000 followers, 200,000 followers. It doesn't matter. I'm going to speak the exact same truth every time. I don't care what YouTube does. I don't care if YouTube is going to demonetize. I'm just going to consistently speak my truth. And the thing is about this page, my YouTube page is a living page. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to, I'm not going to remain in a box. You can go back to 2016, go back to 2016, then look at 2017, look at 2018. You'll see that my conversation is consistently evolving. So going forward, I don't know, in the next year or two, hell, I might be, isolated in a cave, or isolated from all society, giving these videos about something. Or hell, I might be on the opposite end. Hell, I could be a herbalist talking about, fasting and nature healing. You just don't know, man. Just wherever the world takes me, man, is the wave that I ride. And again, this bus that I'm on stops at several locations. So at any point in time, a person feels like they need to get off, then they're free to do that. But again, my trip to Table Mountain, it just reminded me on who I was. Like, not only who I was, but what my purpose is. My purpose for even getting on these channels. On the internet, right? Because my ultimate goal is to not only help young men make smarter decisions, but it's to make young men avoid the pitfalls that not only I've fallen in, that guys just like me have fallen in. And that's the end of the story. You can put it in whatever box you want to, guys. But again, the experience at Table Mountain was majestic, guys. It was life-changing. Brothers, you cannot come up here and see this and leave the same way you came. This is amazing. It's your boy Solomon.